But I do want to know, and I want to understand more, and I want my listeners to have the opportunity to hear straight talk on climate change. When I saw Dr. Michaels on Life, Liberty, and Levin, I knew I wanted him on CSC Talk Radio, so I went to our good friend, Daniel Turner, the Power of the Future, and he got it done for me. So we're going to chat today, and then on Monday, it'll be just Dr. Michaels and me, and we'll return and open up the phone line so that you can ask your questions. Dr. Michaels is the director of the Center of the Study of Science at the Cato Institute. Michaels is a past president of the American Association of State Climatologists and was program chair for the Committee on Applied Climatology of the American Meteorological Society. He was a research professor of environmental sciences of University of Virginia for 30 years. Michaels was a contributing author and is a reviewer of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize back in 2007. His writings have been published in major scientific journals, including Climate Research, Climate Change, Geophysical Research Letters, Journal of Climate, Nature, and Science, as well as in popular serials worldwide. He is the author or editor of 8 books on climate and its impact, and he was an author of the Climate Paper of the Year, awarded by the Association of American Geographers in 2004. He has appeared on most of the worldwide major media. Of course, he's made it now because he's on CSC Talk Radio. His recent Lukewarming is currently listed as the best-selling Earth Science textbook at Amazon.com. That's something I think maybe we ought to be checking out. Michaels holds an AB and an SM degrees in biological sciences and plant ecology from the University of Chicago. He received a PhD in ecological climatology from the University of Wisconsin at Madison in 1979. And after all that, we've almost blown my first segment. Dr. Michaels, thank you for being here today. And Daniel, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Beth Ann.
Thank you. May I call you Patrick?
Yes, you can.
All right, I'm going to call you Patrick. I've been watching you. I've been checking you out on YouTube a lot this week, and you've been at this a long time. I'm not calling you old or anything.
Yeah, right.
I'm right there with you, buddy. But you have been, and I wanted to kind of address that. And Daniel, you're here, right?
I am here. Nice to be with an expert on the subject.
Yeah. So how's the weather where you are, Daniel? All right. That's my little quip for the day. How's the weather? Dr. Michaels, I was very intrigued when I saw you on Life, Liberty, and Levin. That's got to be about the only thing I can get time to watch on Sunday evenings anymore. But I've watched it several times because I wanted to hear what you had to say and try to absorb it. And I've been quite critical of climate change. I say, well, we have it here in Missouri all the time. It's called fall, winter, spring, and summer. But I know that there's some things going on in the earth, and the weather does take some changes. So we only have a couple of minutes before we go into that first break. I'm going to let you kind of just get us started here just a little.
Yeah, sure. Well, the fact of the matter is the surface temperature of the earth is a little bit under a degree C warmer than it was around 1900. Having said that, not all of that warming is a result of human emissions of carbon dioxide. There was a pretty substantial warming from about 1910 to 1945, and we hadn't put enough carbon dioxide in the air to have any effect or any significant effect at that time. So in toto, you might be able to attribute half, and that would mean less than a half a degree of warming to carbon dioxide and other emissions. That's not very much, and is far beneath what has been forecast to occur by the computer models that the United Nations uses and that the Obama administration used when they produced this recent report on U.S. climate change. That was the report that came out a couple of weeks ago that got a lot of press. That was largely a previous administration product.
So you're telling me it wasn't the gassy cows? We were told in rural America it was the gassy cows.
Yeah. There's that methane component, but it's not all that much. But the whole point about this issue is a judicious look at what was forecast compared to what was happening shows that way too much warming was forecast. And if the past is any guide to the future, that's the way it's going to continue. Mm-hmm. So if you have a very modest warming and you have economic growth, what's the best thing to do? I would argue the best thing to do is to do nothing. Right. In fact, I've been having a little bit of fun with a colleague of mine from the Heritage Foundation by the name of Kevin Diaratna, and we're using the Obama administration's model to predict what they call the social cost.
We're going to have to talk about that when we come back. The social. Okay. We're going to talk about that when we come back. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. How's the weather where you are today? We're visiting with Dr. Patrick Michaels and Daniel Turner, and we will be right back. Invest in a good night's sleep for you and your family. Families need to save money and be practical. A good night's sleep is first in helping you and your loved ones build your immune systems and strengthen your brain to be alert during your day. Go to MyPillow.com and click on the 4-pack special. Enter promo code BethAnn. You'll receive 2 MyPillow premium pillows as well as 2 Go Anywhere pillows for half off. Or call 1-800-978-6168. Be sure to use the promo code BethAnn. Your family, your friends, our nation is worth the investment of a good night's sleep. Machine washable, 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. MyPillow made for you. Bring America home with a good night's sleep. MyPillow made in the USA. MyPillow.com, promo code BethAnn. Bring America home with a good night's sleep. MyPillow, made in the USA. You're familiar with Range Magazine, packed with hard, cold facts regarding the battles we face out on the range and at home. Beyond the battles are beauty and pictures and words that will take you to another place and time. CJ and Range Magazine have produced a line of hardbound books that should be a part of your home library. The most recent publication is Cowboys and Critters, containing unique photos of the people and animals that make up the ranching world. These beautiful books, which make fantastic gifts, have won numerous awards, such as the prestigious Wrangler Award, First Place in Journalism, Will Rogers Gold Medal Award. So many honors, great photos, and wonderful poems and stories of the West. Reflections of the West, Brushstrokes and Balladeers, The M-Bar, The Call of the Cow Country. You can't resist the art and cowboy poetry books. Visit rangemagazine.com for a complete list of prices. Call 1-800-RANGE-4U. That's 1-800-726-4348. Be sure to let them know Beth Ann sent you. Melody Cedarstrom and CSC Talk Radio team up as common sense voices of integrity. I personally endorse Melody Cedarstrom to be your trusted go-to expert for all your precious metal needs. Experts agree a financial crisis and even collapse is inevitable. Given our government's lack of economic leadership and self-interests of those in power, it's no longer a question of if you should purchase gold and silver, but if you will purchase gold and silver before it's too late. Melody encourages you to tune in each weekday morning. Visit CSCTalkRadio.com. We both agree truth and education are the 2 significant factors in both our missions. There is a wealth of misinformation out there. Let Melody and Beth Ann help you sort through the chaos and bring you home to the truths that will ensure that you and your family are protected. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading, 1-800-375-4188, or online at dgscoins.com. Melody and Beth Ann are strong forces together, working to preserve liberty and bring America home. And we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. I do have a really quick announcement. I believe it's .com. If you will visit them, they are a new network coming on the internet, and we will be joining them live. They're launching live on Monday. I think we've actually been on, but their kickoff day is Monday. And so Loving Liberty, if you have a chance to go visit that, they'll have other guests and other hosts and other shows there, as well as CSC Talk Radio. So Loving Liberty, we're very proud that they chose us to be a part of this. Back to where we were there, Dr. Michaels. You were talking about some fun you were having with Kevin there from the Heritage Foundation.
Yes, we decided to use the same computer model that the Obama administration used, which they used to justify their regulations on carbon dioxide, including the Clean Power Plan. That's the one that the Supreme Court realized was so egregious that it stayed it even before it heard the case. But we made a couple different assumptions. You see, the Obama administration used the UN climate models, and everybody knows they're too hot. So we used their new calculations that have been done by several scientists, clearly demonstrating that it's just not going to warm up as much as those old models said. And we did something that the Obama administration refused to do. We assumed the rate of economic growth that has characterized the U.S. since 1900. They chose not to do that, and I know why they chose not to do that, because when we did it, we found that the social cost of carbon dioxide was negative. In other words, it's a net benefit if you assume a realistic warming and realistic economic growth. It's not a cost. And we're seeing that across the board. You know, I'll ask you the question, Beth Ann. Do you really think we magically live in the best of all possible climates, and that a change in one direction or another would necessarily be bad? No, of course we don't. People tend to like it warmer. Vegetation tends to like it warmer. And we're living on a planet that, as a result of our CO2 emissions, is getting greener and greener and greener very fast.
Dr. Michaels, let me ask you, let me throw this wild question out there. Daniel, you're still with us, aren't you?
Well, I'm here and ready to go when you get a chance.
Okay. Well, you can chime in anytime. I read an article several years ago, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was from a scientist and a climate scientist, and he said in his studies, now, he wasn't getting money from the government. In fact, they were really shunning him. But in his studies, he found we were going the other direction, that it was actually going to be cooling, and the topography as far as agriculture was going to be changing, and that people needed to be prepared for this. I never saw it again after that. I had read that article, and I was just wondering if there's anything to that.
I don't think there's a lot to that.
Okay.
The surface temperature of the planet did decline from about 1945 to around 1975, and in the northern hemisphere it declined so rapidly that there was like a mini scare that maybe we're headed back into another ice age, but that decline stopped. And really what you have is a slight warming that people have adapted to. You know, as I said at the beginning of the show, the surface temperature is about 0.9 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in 1900. So what has been the net effects that have accompanied that? Well, in the industrialized world, life expectancy doubled. And per capita wealth increased 12-fold. Now we see a report largely produced by the Obama administration that comes out and says, oh, if it warms another 0.6 degree, all that's going to reverse, and all hell is going to break loose. It's completely ludicrous. And how our friends in the press could not ask that simple question, how could you say something so absurd, shows how the coverage of this issue has evolved. Oh, it's insane.
It is, and it's a scare tactic, and I think you had mentioned in one of the interviews that I'd watched, that it's all about getting more money into this. They want to push the dollar around and to get more money from
the scientific community is quite complicit. Here's the problem. You don't advance in the scientific community unless you publish a lot. And in the climate world, that takes a lot of money to do all that research. And there's only one provider of that money. Who is that? The federal government. Now, do you think anybody ever got money for a big research program by testifying in front of Congress that, well, what you want to fund is really not a problem? No. They go up there and they hype it because it's in their best interest, and their universities love them because they bring in all this money, which carries 50% overhead. In other words, if you apply for $1 million in research money, the university gets $1.5 million, and it can spend that $500,000 as it chooses. So, yeah, you have obviously a vicious cycle that makes many issues, not just climate change, but many issues in the regulatory sphere exaggerated by definition. And that's how we got into the regulatory mess that we're in.
I'm not particularly fond of climate change right now because we're in winter and I'm not a winter person. Hey, Daniel, I was going to bring you in. I've heard Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She wants to go all green everywhere. Everything's going to be green. Everything. She didn't know where the money's going to come from. But I was going to have you chime in a little bit on how she's pushing this.
Yeah, I'd love to ask Doctor to talk a little bit about the new Green Deal, and especially if you could talk a little bit about renewables. I say often on your show that I don't oppose renewables where they make sense and where they're not subsidized by the taxpayers, but this idea in the new Green Deal that they're going to push in the House next year, that within 10 years we can be 100% carbon-free. Doctor, could you just talk about what it really takes in terms of land for solar panels or in terms of space for windmills, and what do they produce?
Yeah, well, the problem is if you're really going to try and substitute our dense energy production, meaning power plants with natural gas or nuclear plants or things like that, with solar energy and windmills, you're going to fail because they're not constant sources of energy. The grid doesn't work well when the energy supply fluctuates, and they don't produce very much energy, Solar energy just doesn't work at night. And the wind, when we have the biggest power demand, when it's really hot or really cold, the wind usually is not blowing. So this is all a pipe dream, and there will be a lot of grandstanding because whatever the House of Representatives does, the Senate is not going to concur. And even if the Senate did, which it won't, the president won't sign it. So this is all sound and fury, signifying nothing but hot air.
I have traveled different places, and I think I've shared this with Daniel before, where you see the big windmills. Well, that'll work in some areas and not in other areas, but I said I have to just laugh because they can't make those big propellers up there on those windmills without coal. Yeah,
well, the other thing is that those windmills, to talk about the Commonwealth of Virginia, where I'm speaking to you from.
Okay.
Our new Democrat administration has decided to go all out in a big offshore wind facility. Well, it turns out offshore wind is the most expensive way that we know to produce electricity. And it's also very unstable. To build something that's going to sit out there in the saltwater ocean and continue to spin and be reliable for more than about 10 or 15 years is a pipe dream. And then it's going to cost another fortune to replace those things. No, this is the wrong way to go. And frankly, soon-to-be Congressman Ocasio-Cortez, she should keep on going. I love her. She's the gift that keeps on giving to the people who want to make sense. Yay. Go for it, girl.
Well, maybe we should find a way to use all the wind coming out of D.C. if they want wind energy. Maybe we should do that.
Why don't you get her on your program and we'll have a debate?
That would be fun. I'm not sure if she's that daring. I don't know. She's pretty daring because she's really pretty full of herself.
You think?
You know, I've got a son.
Considering how few votes she got.
I've got a son that's a minister, and we talk about some of the names when you're reading out of the scriptures. He goes, just say them with confidence. Just say them with confidence. And that's kind of where she is. She just says everything with confidence, but I don't think she has a clue. We're headed into a break, and we're not going to open up the phone lines today. We're going to talk about climate change and the truth about it. And you write down what you want to ask Dr. Michaels, because he's coming back on Monday, and we're going to do this again. And I have a question about Russia when we return. Our founding fathers knew that the heartland would be coveted by those who want the land and its resources, or hated by those who simply do not understand its value. It is that simple. And yet today, the humble folks in the heartland are losing jobs and feeling the pressures from an out-of-control bureaucracy as well as outsiders with agendas. From the heartlands of America come our food, manufacturing, and our energy. CSC Talk Radio is a voice crying from the heartland and standing up for rural America. And so is Power the Future. Power the Future is a unique foundation established to be the voice for rural American energy jobs. Daniel Turner is a strong advocate pushing against those who would like to punish rural folks and take their jobs for the sake of climate change or the land and its wealth. I'm proud to be a part of Power the Future and bring Daniel Turner here to you. Our future depends on it. Let's power the future as we bring America home to common sense jobs and give our rural families a voice. Visit powerthefuture.us. Powerthefuture.us is the way to bring America home. Gold and silver have been the foundation of wealth for individuals and nations the world over. The history of man is packed with coins, jewelry, and artifacts that have spoken to the intrinsic value esteemed in gold and silver due to their rarity, durability, and usefulness. I'm proud to call Melody Cedarstrom a friend and honored Discount Gold and Silver Trading is a loyal sponsor of CSC Talk Radio, a Christian company founded on the principles of truth and honesty. Melody provides quality products, quality service, and competitive pricing. Let Melody's over 20 years of experience in gold and silver trading be your investment guide. From precious metals purchases to precious metals IRA. Whether you want to buy or sell, Melody and her team at Discount Gold and Silver will assist you and make sure you get the best deals possible. Call Melody and tell her thank you for sponsoring CSC Talk Radio, and then let her know you want her to be your gold and silver dealer. Visit Melody online at dgscoins.com or just give her a call at 1-800-375-4188. That's 1-800-375-4188.
Sustainable development or sustainable freedom? We cannot have both. Henry Lamb, the founder and executive president of Freedom 21, put together a unique booklet explaining Agenda 21 and the true agenda behind it. Learn the new language and what it means to you and your community. Agenda 21 is a UN project for America and across the globe. Freedom as we know it will end when Agenda 21 is implemented to us and on this land we call Free America. Control of land, rivers, food, roads, highways. Rewilding America. Agenda 21 rules and regulations will end private land ownership as well as private land use. Read and study this booklet to learn why smart growth is anything but smart. Henry doesn't just tell us the bad stuff. He has a plan for fighting and stopping the takedown of America. Order now. Send $750 to CSC Talk Radio, P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri, 65018. It's sustainable freedom for me. Send $750 to CSC Talk Radio, P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri, 65018.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But these rights are not extended to the precious lives innocently waiting just to be born. Abortion is a lie. Stand up for those who cannot speak out for themselves and join the Red Ribbon Campaign, a gentle yet clear message. Science has proven babies are not just alive, but can feel pain just like you and I. Our nation screams against inhumane treatment of dogs and cruel interrogation tactics of known terrorists, yet as a nation we idly sit by, allowing these helpless lives to be tortured to death. Please support Christ from the Womb. 10 lapel ribbons are only $7, or receive a free lapel ribbon when you purchase a t-shirt for just $20, or a wristband for $5. With 2 or more wristbands, just $3 each. To order, visit csctalkradio.com or P.O. Box 73, California, Missouri 65018. Support Christ from the Womb and be seen, so the unborn can be heard.
And we have returned to listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. We're visiting today with Dr. Patrick Michaels and Daniel Turner of Power of the Future. Dr. Michaels, you had said something on with Mark Levin about the Russians and how they were gauging the temperatures, and that, I'm thinking, well, they ain't buying it then, are they? So they're doing their own thing, and you said that theirs were actually a little more efficient. Are you there?
Sorry. Yeah. The UN has 32 families of climate models, and 31 of them get the temperatures in the tropics pretty much completely wrong. Tropical temperature, excuse me. Tropical temperature is what drives weather around the planet. So if you get that wrong, you're going to get everything else wrong. Sorry about my voice.
That's okay. You need to have a cup of coffee right there.
So the Russians have a computer model that, in fact, gets it right. It's the only one that gets it right.
That's amazing.
And if we were following normal best practices for forecasting, which is what weather forecasters do every day. There are different weather forecasting models. We don't use all the models at once and average them up. We use the one that is performing the best. That's best scientific practice. We should be using the Russian model. There's only one thing wrong, and there's a good reason why we don't use it, because it doesn't have very much warming in it. It predicts less warming this century than all the other models.
So it just doesn't fit the narrative, does it?
Well, it does not fit the narrative, but it fits the data. Which do you choose?
Mm-hmm. I choose the truth data. I believe
me too.
I believe the truth will set you free, and I'm feeling like why would they continually mislead us? Why do they want to?
Why do they not use that model?
Yeah.
Because if you really would project that little warming, the whole issue would go away. And all of these hordes of scientists who are being rewarded by their universities would have to stop flying in the front cabin of the plane. And God knows what a tragedy that would be.
Well, I kind of wrote down government payout is bureaucracy, and there's very little efficiency and not a whole lot of truth in bureaucracy these days. Well,
the problem is, again, it's the way that we do science, where we have to portray these issues as end-of-the-world issues in order for the money to flow and the universities to reward the faculty. That's the root of the problem, and that's what we have to change.
They usually say, follow the money, just follow the money. Daniel, you and I have seen how some of these mandates and regulations and this heavy thumb coming down from the EPA and some of these others in the government, how they've affected rural America, how they've affected our land, how they've affected the industries, how they affect the coal industry, and I just don't understand why they're willing to shut us down for this. But it's all about money.
Absolutely, and it's not popular to be advocating for coal, which is why I think I get so much media attention, because I'm the only one who seems to do it, because America has bought into this belief that coal is bad and coal drives climate change. I'd love to ask Doctor about what he saw last week in France and what would happen in a real concrete scenario. That they throw out the idea that this is what will happen to the climate if we do not address this change in terms of soaring temperatures and scorched earth and crop failure, etc. But what would it look like if we implement these policies in terms of utility costs and just cost of living? Because the France riots, I think, are precursors to what would happen here in the States if they put these policies in play.
Well, we've actually run this experiment before. Yes, in France, they're very upset with Macron's carbon tax. and that drove the price of gasoline up really, really high. And, you know, we passed, the House of Representatives in 2009 passed something very akin to a carbon tax. The Senate never voted on it because it saw the polling numbers after the House passed this thing. And in the 2010 election, the Democrats lost 64 seats. Most of the close races that were lost by a guy who voted for that pseudo-carbon tax. So, yeah, people don't like it. In fact, there's a piece in the Washington Post this morning by Steve Muffson acknowledging that there really is no political will to do this. So what does the Post's loyal writer say? Well, we must impose international rule via the United Nations. Oh, my God, how many times do we hear that? I mean, yeah.
They're internationalists. They're not nationalists.
The global rule by the UN is the last refuge of scoundrels, so far as I can tell.
Well, you know, the European Union went all green, and it didn't work out very well.
Oh, nope, it did not. All green.
Went cold.
In talks cheap. Angela Merkel, in response to the Fukushima accident, which is a remarkably bad accident caused by very bad reactor design, where you put your emergency power plant between the ocean and your nuclear plant. Yeah, for sure. She decided to accelerate the closure of all German nuclear energy. And in doing so, everyone realized that they're not going to have enough energy. And so they opened up large portions of Germany for open pit lignite, that's peat coal basically, extraction, to burn that. That produces more CO2 per unit energy than pretty much any other source of power. So, yeah, you can talk a good line, but when it comes on down to it, the political community realizes that if you make energy too expensive and you make it unreliable, people get very upset. And that reality will continue. If you want to see the solution, just take a look at today's Post. Yeah, I'm sure that the UN will fix it for everybody.
Oh, yeah, they fix everything. Have they fixed anything?
Go ahead, in your expertise, has Germany been hit by many tsunamis? I'm not an expert in the climate, but has like Fukushima?
No. Their nuclear systems were pretty inherently safe. And whenever I get to communicate with ideologues on this issue, I always say, well, okay, well, what do you think about nuclear power? After all, it's a very dense energy source. It's very reliable, and it doesn't emit a molecule of carbon dioxide. Oh, no, we can't have that. And every time I get that answer, I just say, okay, you're not serious. You have an ulterior motive. You're not serious about this issue.
Something we hear very often are two things that are said as de facto without argument. The sea levels are rising and all the coral reefs are dying, and that is a given. Could you talk about both of those things? Is there any truth to it? And if there is it man-made related?
Well, sea level is up about 7 or 8 inches from 1900. I wouldn't get too afeared about that. It's been rising since the end of the last ice age, you know. Ice continues to melt. And the stories about the coral reefs are, in fact, massive exaggerations. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is quite used to coral bleaching because the El Nino events that happen every 8 or 10 years or so do cause the algae that are symbiotic with the corals to go away. And guess what? A different variety of algae then replaces them. I'm shocked. There's a reason these corals have been around for hundreds of millions of years, because they're quite adapted to change.
We're getting ready to head into another break here. I was very interested when you were speaking with Mark Levin about the rainforest, because we keep seeing those commercials, too, that the rainforests are dying and they want us to send money for the rainforest. And you said they were growing. But we're headed into a break, so we don't get a chance to talk about that right this minute. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann with Dr. Patrick Michaels and Daniel Turner. How's the weather where you are? And we will be right back. When I think of bringing America home, I think of family sitting around the table. As a young girl, it was my job to set the table. Setting the table meant tablecloth, plates, drinking glasses, and the flatware, which had to be placed correctly on the respective sides of the plates. Regardless of the time of year, sitting down at the table is an American thing to do. It's great family. Liberty Tabletop can help you set your table. They are the only flatware manufacturer in the United States of America, using high-quality 1810 chromium nickel stainless steel. All that and with competitive prices. When you order, use the promo code BethAnn to receive 10% off of your order. Visit LibertyTabletop.com or give them a call the old-fashioned American way. 844-386-2338. That's 844-386-2338. Use the promo code BethAnn and receive 10% off your purchase. Let's set the table and bring America home. I injured my neck in the late 1980s. My life changed with the pain and the spasms. Other than that, I was perfectly healthy, but pain kept me from resting. One doctor recommended an expensive pillow. It was cylinder-shaped. He told me I'd have to take the stuffing out because I was too small for it. I tried that pillow, and it didn't work. Through the years, I tried other pillows, and they might work for a short time, and I ended up pitching them out of bed. In December, my husband bought a MyPillow for me. I was skeptical for obvious reasons. I'm still using the MyPillow. It's a record, and I'm sleeping better and waking up feeling better. It didn't heal the neck from the injury, but it calmed the spasms. I personally endorse MyPillow, but don't buy it off the rack. Call them at 1-800-978-6168 or visit their website, MyPillow.com. They have a different fill consistency to fit your sleep style, belly, back, or side. MyPillow is a sponsor of CSC Talk Radio, but you have to use the promo code BethAnn. With a 60-day guarantee, there's nothing to lose. MyPillow.com. Promo code BethAnn.
Are you proud to be an American? There should be pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand together and say, buy Made in the USA. CSC Talk Radio is partnering up with Made in America, Made in the USA companies, products that are made with love as well as years of experience. MyPillow, 800-978-6168. McCall's Candles, 800-396-0332. Liberty Tabletop, 844-386-2338. And there's more to come. Whether you contact them via the CSC website or by phone, you have to use the promo code BethAnn. Why buy American? Better quality products. Your money stays in the USA, and you're keeping Americans working. Visit CSCTalkRadio.com and click on the All-American Market button. That's CSCTalkRadio.com, All-American Market. Always use the promo code BethAnn.
CSC Talk Radio has the best listeners in the world, and I appreciate every one of you. So when you tell me that you had trouble listening for whatever reason, it breaks my heart. As you know, I've been on a campaign to find and promote all American-made companies, and as fate would have it, one such company found me. Michael of Goodar Electronics contacted CSC Talk Radio with an all-American-made product that will help my shortwave and AM and FM listeners. Designed for all environments, the DXL 1000 is a multi-band outdoor antenna. It's the world's first telescoping, tunable whip. Michael has been in business for over 30 years, manufacturing high-quality custom antenna models that cover a wide range of applications. His antennas are in use all over the world. Give Michael a call at 480-892-8207. That's 480-892-8207. Or visit GodarUSA.com. And we have returned. We're in the final segment of today's show. It's fastest hour of the day when you're having fun, isn't it, Daniel? Daniel will be back on Tuesday, so we're going to have a lot. We're going to have Patrick back on Monday, and Daniel will be here on Tuesday. So we're going to cover this and see what we can do to educate everyone and to bring it back home, as I would like to say. We were talking about the rainforest when we went in. You had mentioned earlier on the interview with Mark Levin that the rainforests are actually growing, and here we see these commercials where they want us to contribute to help save the rainforest.
Yeah, well, we are saving them as we speak by putting carbon dioxide in the air. We have been measuring vegetation growth from satellites for about 25 years, and there's a recent paper out from some French scientists that show absolute massive increases in the greenness of the planet. And the place that's growing the most happens to be the tropical rainforests in not only South America, but in Africa and in Asia. They are growing by leaps and bounds. Mm-hmm. And to give you an idea of how much greener the planet is getting as we put CO2 in the air, the most common agricultural ecosystem on Earth are things called grasslands. And they are growing. They're picking up biomass at the rate of 5% per year. So in the 17 years in this recent satellite study, that means that they have increased their biomass by 85%. And the main cause of that is the increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is plant food.
Well, I always thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, I would have thought so, too. When I started talking about this online, all of a sudden, so the commenters are saying, well, why is it a good thing for the planet to be getting greener? I don't get that.
Because, well, I'm no scientist, but there's one thing I remember from class when I was in elementary, because what we exhale, the trees inhale, and what they exhale, we inhale. That's why we're good for each other.
Yeah, something like that.
It's simple. I know, I'm simple-minded. That's where I am. Daniel gets a kick out of me anyway. You know, Daniel.
I always do.
You know, we've known... You know, we've come a long way. We did need to clean things up. We did need to improve our living around. And, you know, here in rural America, they've learned how to take care of the land better. They do a better job. We still have some ways to go. But we have the cleanest air here in the United States. And yet they keep wanting to fine us and regulate us and mandate us on top of that. And it's really hurting the industries, it's hurting the farmers, it hurts everything, you know, jobs, it affects everything. I'm going to let you talk about that just a little bit, Daniel.
You know, absolutely, and how it drives up the cost of all of our goods and our manufacturing, but how it's just a huge land grab of people who are, you know, providing for this nation, et cetera. One of the things that I'm fascinated in is, as you said, Beth Ann, we have gotten cleaner, right? Our air is better. We are better stewards of our resources. But one of the things President Trump dropped out of the climate accords, the Paris Climate Accords, was he said the countries who pollute don't seem to have to pay any consequence. And that was a very un-PC thing to say. And I'd love to ask Doctor about China and India and Indonesia. And again, not to start a political war with them, but these are countries who do pollute.
Yeah, just the fact that the Paris Accord. Why are they never
called out? Why does the UN never punish China or India for their level of pollution?
I'm glad you asked, Daniel, because I wanted to ask Patrick that.
The Paris Accord. You know, the way the accord works is countries, quote, voluntarily say what they're going to do about their emissions. And the Chinese, what they agreed to do was to increase their emissions until somewhere around 2030, whereupon most people think they're going to level off because their economy is going to mature anyway. So they're not doing anything. The Indians were even better. What they decided to do was to increase the amount of carbon dioxide that is emitted per person or per unit economic output above what it was in the background years. So in other words, they agreed to do nothing, but they agreed to do less than nothing. So President Trump says this is a bad deal. And at the same time, what nation on earth has reduced its carbon dioxide emissions more than any other? The United States, the country that is not in the Paris Accord.
Well, once again, the cowboy stands alone, doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess so. But I have to say, I just think it's amazing that there's support for an agreement in which the largest emitter on Earth, by far, which is China, says we're going to continue to increase our emissions for another 15 years. And this was hailed by the Obama administration as a great breakthrough agreement. Yeah, right. Great breakthrough for the Chinese.
Well, I liked what you said when you contributed it to the good old capitalism and technology, that the USA was able to do that. Yeah. The reason our emissions have gone down so much, the major reason is the development of fracking for natural gas and the use of natural gas for electrical generation, which produces about half the carbon dioxide that comes out of a coal-fired power plant. That's why the United States is cleaning things up faster than anybody else. we didn't regulate ourselves into oblivion. And Daniel and I were talking about that the other day because President Obama was taking credit for the energy uptake and the coal and the oil, and it was because of the fracking, and it wasn't because it was private industry, not anything that President Obama did.
Absolutely, and that's going to continue. I mean, this whole notion that everything is going to go to heck, it pervades our society. I don't know if you remember, about 10, 12 years ago, we were running out of natural gas. Yes. And the current wisdom then was that, whoa, this is horrible. We're running out of natural gas. We're going to have to use coal to produce electricity and all that good stuff. And in fact, it was only in a few years that we realized we had hundreds of years of natural gas in the rocks that are underneath our feet, and all we have to do is break those darn rocks.
Yeah. Suck it out of the rocks. We are about out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Michaels, for taking time to be with us today. And we'll see you on Monday.
We
will see
you
on the radio. Daniel, you have a great weekend. Thank you for helping me put this together. I really do appreciate it. And as we close today's show, the truth will set you free. We need to know both sides of the story so we can make better decisions ourselves. And when we do that, that's how we will bring America home.